You're listening to Puma Podcast.
Hi, I'm Franco Luna, Puma Podcast, and you're listening to Teka Teka News. This is the second episode in a series on cybersecurity in the age of scams and hacks. In the first episode, we heard from Mandy, who requested to remain anonymous.
So parang doon na ako binuhusan ng malamig na tubig. Sabi ko, okay, this is it. So I've really lost this money to scammers. Immediately after noon, talagang hindi ako makakain, hindi ako makatulog, hindi ako makausap ng maayos. Every time I attempt to sleep, ano yung diwa ko at saka para na akong naghahalusinate kung ano-ano na yung nakikita ko.
If you haven't heard her story yet, Mandy told us about how nabudol siya sa mga too good to be true offers for easy money online.
Ang masasabi ko lang is kung maka-encounter kayo ng ganito and then if you think na it's too good to be true or if your gut tells you na this isn't right, listen to your gut para maiwasan na yung ganitong mabiktima kayo na nagkatulad na nangyari sa akin. Parang charge it to experience na lang, although masyadong masakit, no? It's really a hard pill to swallow.
But let's talk about something that can happen to any of us, and it doesn't need to come from hackers or scammers. In this episode,
Actually, twice ako na nakawan ng cellphone. Yung isa sa bus, ironically after ng isang workshop tungkol sa data protection, including your data in your phone. Tapos number one nga na instruction doon is huwag mawawala physically yung source ng data mo or taguan ng data mo yung phone, for instance.
let's talk about the aftermath of one of life's most traumatic experiences in the 21st century. Losing your cell phone with all your data still on it.
Nasa bus ako noon, ginagalaw ko yung cellphone ko kasi may mga utos na trabaho. So una nakaupo ako sa likod tapos nagtatrabaho ako. Nung malapit na akong bumaba, lumapit-lapit ako ng konti. Pagkatapos maya-maya, merong bumatok sa akin. Tapos sabi ko, ano ba? Tapos pagkatapos nun, may humila na nung cellphone na hawak ko. Tapos nawala na silang dalawa. Tapos yung konduktor, tsaka yung driver nag-usap pa na parang, ganyan talaga yung modus nila, ganyan. Tapos di man lang nila hinabol yung pagnanakaw.
You just heard Veronica Uy, our senior news editor here at Puma Podcast. If you live in Metro Manila, there's a pretty good chance you can relate to these experiences. If not, well, I guess you're one of the luckier ones. But think about how much we have on our phones today. There's photos, social media accounts, personal details, online banking apps, etc. And you can be as safe and as cautious as can be from scammers, but you can never really be safe from your own carelessness. And all of us, even myself, are vulnerable to losing our phones, whether from some modus or our own fault. So what we want to do here really is to give people actionable ways forward and make the whole experience less traumatizing.
I think it doesn't necessarily like when you lose your phone, that's end of the world for you. It still depends on the situation.
Yan naman si Jonner Marzan, isang cybersecurity expert based sa Singapore. He specializes in corporate security, but he knows a thing or two about keeping ourselves safe and prepared against the cyber risks of 2023. Jonner says that while the most important thing is staying ready for the possibility of losing your phone, your main focus when it actually does happen should be trying to recover it.
Try to utilize the existing apps that are out there. So if you're using iPhone, so you have the iOS Find My, on which it has the capability to track phones. Of course, you need to borrow another iPhone or an iPad or a computer so that you log in using your Apple ID to track your phone and hopefully recover it. If you're using Android, on the other hand, there's an equivalent, which is Find My Device. So from there, same feature, it can find through playing sound or tracking, and then you can also secure and lock and finally erase.
Speaking of losing your phone, you should know that it happens to the best of us. It's happened to Jonah at least 3 times, he says.
So yeah, it happened to me wherein my old Nokia phone just slipped into my pants and fell into the Jeep. And then when I went home, I suddenly realized that it got lost. So of course I tried to call it, and I was just fortunate that the jeepney driver still able to retrieve it. And same thing with the tricycle.
We're pausing for a quick break now, and when we return, we'll tell you about what to do when you realize you've lost your phone for good.
It's always a trade-off between convenience and risk. If you really want to be cyber secure, then don't open an online banking account. But definitely you won't do that, right? Because we live in an age wherein everything is digitally connected and all that. Unless you live in an island or a cave, then that will work for you. So I guess you need to live with it.
Again, that was cybersecurity expert Jonah Marzana. He says there's an inherent risk that comes with the way our smartphones are designed. Let's face it, they've become an extension of ourselves at this point.
Definitely, it encompasses the personal stuff related, the social media, access to the digital banking apps, even your insurance, your emails, definitely. And then going to the work side, work email, your Teams, Skype, or Slack, or whatever communication tools that you use for work. And also, let's not forget the messaging apps, the Messenger, the WhatsApp. I think everything that day-to-day use.
But the good news is that there's a lot you can be doing before you actually lose your phone.
It's also important to back up your data to the cloud, so that when you lose your phone, it's just the device that's lost, not the data inside it. And third would be calling relevant authorities. So if you call your telco, your Globe, your Smart, you can actually ask them to block outgoing or incoming calls so that no one is able to reach it.
Kung tutuusin, no, that's the best way to keep safe, diba? By making sure you're not as dependent on your phone. But that's obviously not the case for everyone, because having all of these things on our phones is precisely what makes them so convenient, diba? So let's say you've lost your phone for good. At this point, there's no way you're recovering it again, and you've come to terms with that fact. What happens now? Jonah says this is where things get tedious and tricky.
You need to reset your credentials on all those apps that are installed on your phone just for safety precautions. And then finally, just be vigilant, because if someone is, for example, if you're just slow on disabling or resetting password, and someone is able to log in, then they can withdraw money from your bank accounts or even impersonate you.
It's a lot, but I guess that's the price you pay for keeping most of your important life information stored in a pocket-sized smartphone. It's also important to remember that speed is of the essence here. Jonah says you have maybe a 24-hour window to get all these things sorted out before you're really at risk.
So you can be safe, at least from that part, if you have that covered. But definitely, there might be chances that they can guess your PIN, right? So going back to the time, how long, I think good rule of thumb is you have a day or 24 hours. So of course it takes minutes to track your phone and all that, but as we've mentioned, right, calling different authorities, doing other steps, it's a lot of process. So you really need to be fast. However, for example, going back to my situation, when I lost my phone, I'd still try to contact it, right? Because I'm sure that no one will be able to log in during that span of time.
That's not the end of it either, because you'll need to check back from time to time and make sure you've nipped the threat in the bud.
You need to monitor your accounts. You need to be vigilant. For example, if someone's already conducting transactions to your bank accounts, or just say using your account in social media and messaging your family and friends, so that's already a red flag, because it means that your accounts have been compromised already.
While staying safe is on each and every one of us on a personal and individual level, Jonah says these things are also government's responsibility. And there's still a lot we can be doing to keep ourselves safe and catch up to the rest of the world.
It's a people problem. So in organizations, actually in life, right, you have people, process, technology. when we talk about technology is already there. You have things to secure stuff and all. Process, yeah, you have process to follow, but the people side, that's missing. So we lack education. So definitely there should be, cybersecurity awareness campaigns to educate people. If you look into other countries, I think now Philippines is stepping up. If I was also following the ACT cybersecurity, now they're doing this, campaigns. I think that's the right step. They just need to continue doing that. Yeah, educate the masses, I guess, educate people. And also not only from the people perspective, the regulations also need to have tooth on those institutions.
He has this advice to anyone listening. Stay aware and stay ahead of the curve. And most importantly, if you value your money and your data, well, just try your best not to lose your phone. Here he is again with the final word.
Even before protecting the data itself, I think it's a matter of being mindful and taking care of your phone. So it's like your wallet, but even more valuable, because wallet contains only money, but your phone contains potentially money because of the banking apps and the data there. So you have your photos, passwords, or conversation with your family and friends, or even clients and so on. So it's very, very important to take care of your phone. So double check when leaving a place, leaving a public transportation, and so on. Now, second would be always put in security PIN or our password or biometric authentication to your phone. Third is encrypt your phone. Because we don't know, right? Technology changes rapidly.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. Again, ako po si Franco Luna. This episode was edited by Freddy Blanco. Our Teka Teka News executive producer is Jill Caro, and our senior editor is Veronica Uy. If you liked this episode, please do share it with a friend or two. And of course, don't forget to follow Teka Teka News and Puma Podcast on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. Thank you for listening.